We are live. This is the market update. I'm your host, Bill Noble. Bitcoin is going to 20K and Bitcoin dominance is headed for 48%, and the world's running out of water. If you want to know more, subscribe to this channel. Turn on alerts so you know when we're going live, and if the content works for you or you're in a good mood because crypto is up today, hit the like button. Yes, absolutely. All right, let's see who's first on the stream. Bull Runner is here. Ashton, Iron Alien, welcome. Crypto to Cash from Winter Park. Joseph Ryan from California, along with JB. Hopefully you guys are afloat out there. Reverend Flashback from Central Europe. All right. Stephen Mesa says, yay, I made the live stream. Rave Song Records with Notorious Love. Appreciate that. Good evening from the Netherlands. Our friends in Europe are back. Right. Sinister Klaus is here. Llama Sun, smash the like button. It's crypto time. All right. Dulio from Madrid. Welcome to our friends in Europe. Shizzy, give me some love for the Avalanche call. SEO is here. Israel. Right? Rugby Performance Lab. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What a great thing to have the market update every single day, Monday through Friday on YouTube, on this channel, Hell or High Water. Chanel, Noble Asset Management. Appreciate that. Bypass Barry, LFG. Top Semper Fidelis. Welcome. Right? Phoenix is here and Aiken with some Notorious Love. Bitcoin up 5% as of the start of this recording. Is it going higher? The answer is yes. How do I know that? Well, I don't know anything for sure. I'm a technical analyst, but if you want to see the charts and the news that's driving it, don't go anywhere. So we have Bitcoin dominance. What? Bitcoin dominance? Does anybody look at that anymore? Well, you need to, right? One of the things that FTX showed us is that things like the FTT token or some altcoins, let's just say all altcoins are not created equal. All week, I've been pounding the table about Web3 and big altcoins, and I've got some small ones that I like. Don't go anywhere to hear about that, especially as it relates to water. But shouldn't Bitcoin dominance be at like 48%? Like Bitcoin back in June over here, this is back at the days of Celsius when everybody was going to have to sell wrapped Bitcoin or Bitcoin to cover losses. Well, those assets are tied up in bankruptcy. And I don't know who's been selling Bitcoin below 20, but they've obviously sold that to diamond hands, I think. Whoever's been taking Bitcoin from whales or whoever's been selling it down here, they're not selling. They're taking Bitcoin because they see it as an alternative asset. So if Bitcoin dominance can go to 48, okay, where does that put Bitcoin? Does that put Bitcoin at 35K? In other words, when it was at 17, I wanted to talk 20. When everybody's talking 20, I want to talk 35. ETH is at 1,400. People thought that was ridiculous. And I want to actually talk about much higher prices. Because if you look at the DeMark work, today was a perfect day to buy the dip, right? So let's go over here, right? This is ETH on a daily chart, right? Then as we've been talking about in DeMark, you'll go 1 through 9. That's the first part of a trend. There'll be a pause, a dip, a wick, something. Then the trend will take off. And frequently, once the trend takes off from setup to countdown, you get 13 up days. Frequently on a 4-day, right, whether it's a setup or a countdown, you get a dip, which you got today. Everyone was like, oh, CPI was better than expected. Sell the fact. No. Buy the fact that 2023 is not 2022, that Web3 is back. So you got a dip in ETH. That lasted what? 5 minutes, an hour, maybe? Okay, Bitcoin was the same way. This is a 4-hour chart. Okay, you had about 12 hours to get involved in this. Okay, this is the Bitcoin daily chart. Again, it's still off its high. This is not over, right? It's not over probably until 20. And this whole FTX decline which is something else no one's talking about, right? This whole decline could simply unwind itself. And when you get these God candles like this today, it's not a God candle. I mean, yeah, it is compared to what we've been dealing with, but I mean, it's not this kind of collapse. And if you go back to Bitcoin dominance, I mean, Bitcoin dominance just completely fell out of bed as Bitcoin was destroyed back in the summer and early fall. So there's a possibility for like altcoins to go first and then for Bitcoin to lead, right? So you could be looking at like an intense 5 to 6 day pump in Bitcoin, and then altcoins will then resume. Okay, Wrong Again is asking what tool is best for upside price targets in TradingView. Okay, well, you've got to either use fib speed resistance lines, particularly if you've had a bear market, right? So if you connect the top and the absolute low, one of the best ways you can get upside targets after a bear market is to use this tool. Now, in Bitcoin dominance, right, let's try a crypto to answer Wrong Again's question. The question on the table is, what's the best tool to use for upside price targets? So let's try Bitcoin weekly, and let's see if we can put this indicator to use. Okay, so this is BTC weekly, and we've got like a live TA question of what's the best way to do upside targets? Okay, well, the first thing you want to know on Bitcoin weekly is that you've had this massive series of new lows since July, and the 13-week RSI has actually been making higher lows. So this is a recipe for explosive behavior on the upside. Explosive. I have been pounding the table on this and will continue to do so. This is the opposite of sell in May and go away. I mean, you know, it's like I don't have a catchy jingle other than, you know, like in like Flynn. Just let's go. Let's go. One possible line on a weekly chart is 21K, right? And as you can see, you know, if Bitcoin actually started breaking these lines, you have 21 and 28K as possible upside objectives. Now, I've got other methods that are probably more suited to like a regular video. If you go into like 89 minutes, you know, you can do something called hidden pivot analysis for Bitcoin price targets. So if you do hidden pivot analysis, just like off the CPI day, right, you might get something like this. This is trend-based fib extension, right? And this will tell you from a tactical point of view. So I'll just label this. Wasn't planning on doing an on-the-fly clinic, but since if y'all enjoy this, please feel free to comment. Okay, this is the 89-minute chart, the hidden pivot analysis, which basically uses fib extension math. Okay, 18.7. Okay, if Bitcoin is above 18.7, right, 19.5 is next. And I know that that sounds like a lot of movement because we're used to low Bitcoin volatility. I think that just ended. That just ended, right? Bull Runner likes it. He's learning. Andre wants to know if Avalanche can retrace before resuming. Okay. Well, let's get to it. So when it comes to Avalanche, the question is, what is the definition of a retracement? All right. So I think with Avalanche, it's time to go to like a bigger picture, right? Because this collapse is just so unbelievably dramatic that actually figuring out what to draw, like I don't blame you for asking the question, how do we figure this out now? I think the best way to figure it out is to draw something that most people wouldn't, which I continue to believe is this fib resistance, these fib speed resistance lines. So if you do get a dip, it's 1425. Okay, my guess, I don't know. It's like maybe massage this a little bit, see what other variations we can get. Right. So if you draw it this way, you've got resistance at 16. Okay. So there's no need to buy Avalanche if it's below 16. If it's above 16, you would buy a breakout, right? If there's a pullback, now, if there's a pullback, the pullback's already occurred to 14.6. So above 16, you probably go with Avalanche. On a dip to 14.6 is where you get in, and that's probably a level, I don't know, that seems reasonable if there's about to be a 5 to 6 day Bitcoin rampage. Chanel says, the dollar goes to Hades. Boy, this was like somewhat comical this morning that they once again tried to buy this thing. They just can't stop loving it. And I just can't stop hating it. Now, I will stop hating it temporarily at 101.76. That's a hidden pivot target on the downside for the dollar, right? But they actually did try to buy it this morning, right? I mean, the dollar went all the way down off CPI. This is DXY 30-minute, right? It goes down. They fantasize about it going higher, and then it just gets completely slammed. So they can have fun with this. They can have fun. I hope they're having fun because they're getting hosed, stopped out, and savaged as the dollar falls. The Fed is done. The Chinese and the Russians are challenging the dollar using commodity-backed currencies, and gold and silver are smoking to the upside. Okay? Sakib is like Bitcoin target for today. Wow. It's like a challenge question. Okay. So let's try a Bitcoin price target for today. Okay. This is the Bitcoin 90-minute chart. Let's see what I can get from this. You know what? I think we've transitioned to where we're looking at higher time frames. So today, let's assume today has 12 more hours. That's at least 2 more 4-hour candles. So if there's 2 more 4-hour candles, 19,500 is where this market opened on November 8th before it went wild and collapsed. That would seem to me to be a logical target if this DeMark work is on a 7 and there's going to be 2 more 4-hour up candles. So no reason why this thing can't go to 19,500. The current high for today is 18,900. So Bitcoin takes out 18K. Bitcoin takes out 19K. Who cares? Bitcoin should not be below 20K. It just shouldn't be. Right? You know, and ironically, you know, when you look at stuff like GBTC, which I have to admit, I thought there was a problem with this last year, and I had company, and when you have company, it goes the other way, right? This is GBTC, the equity market product for Bitcoin, and it trades at like a 40% discount to Bitcoin. And as you can see, this is up only. This is up only. And look at this huge gap that's got to get filled, right? I mean, this is June, and GBTC could easily fill this gap at 18. Now, where was Bitcoin in June? Why don't we just ask that question? Where was Bitcoin in June? Bitcoin in June was at 32K. Now you're like, Bill, that's crazy. Yeah, exactly. That's what's worked all year. Crazy. Crazy, right? Crazy, but not crazy. Like I said, hey, how about Web3? Everyone's like, you're nuts. ETH Denver last year, you introduce yourself to like a blue collar worker. He says, I'm in Web3. Now, no one wants to talk about Web3 at all. At all. Right? That was up until yesterday. Now, I think people are interested. People are also interested in alternative money because, you know, persistent 5% inflation is great for gold. And if it's great for gold, it's great for Bitcoin. It's great for Bitcoin. I mean, let's put a gold chart up. And let's see how that compares to Bitcoin. So here's gold. Gold is rising, has been rising all year. And let's put Bitcoin up with it. Just, you know, it's like, hey, let's just check it out. Wow. Gold and Bitcoin went down together. Gold has mooned and Bitcoin has done nothing. Nothing. Right? And if you plotted this with ETH, I think it's even more dramatic because, you know, ETH loves to eventually follow precious metals and commodities. Okay. All right. So someone's asking for donations. Let's not do that. All right. Farmer Sam Forrest. Hey, Bill, what I miss? Smash the likes. Okay. Bill's channel. Okay. Bill's channel for 2023. Right on. Right on. Pancakes and peanut butter is here. If you want to make money in crypto or you need a roadmap, subscribe here. This chart is telling you everything you need to know. Bitcoin is crypto is too low compared to other markets that do the same thing. Like the dollar has crashed, right? Like here's another chart that, you know, I could pound the table on indefinitely. Okay. It's dollar index versus Bitcoin. Let's try on a weekly basis. Okay. The dollar index topped. Okay. Actually, let's do the story another way. Oh, there's me going crazy. So Bitcoin is in orange. Bitcoin topped, right? And then the dollar index exploded. Okay. Here, the dollar index has collapsed, but Bitcoin has yet to explode. One eventually catches up with the other. In this case, Bitcoin moved first because Bitcoin is fast and Bitcoin is afraid of any type of tightening cycle. Okay. So the dollar eventually caught up. In this case, the dollar is collapsing, but Bitcoin hasn't figured it out yet. Right? Or crypto is too caught up in last year's FUD. Now, crypto funds is saying, isn't a weak dollar bad for inflation? Okay, yes, a collapsing dollar is bad for inflation, right? Like if you have a 40% drop in the dollar, that's bad for inflation, right? Normally, dollar lower can be positive risk assets if we get out of this sort of Fed tightening talk. Normally, when the dollar goes down, that's usually good for stocks or risk assets under the idea that, you know, American assets abroad get cheaper, or the dollar going lower is reflective of people's willingness to take risk in other currencies in other countries. Okay. Wrong again is saying, you know, like I said, Bitcoin should be much higher. It should be absolutely much higher. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to take a moment and label it, right? What is this down here? Like, what is this? The dollar is down only, and everyone's like, wow, Bitcoin's up 5%. I should take profits. No, right? Don't believe me? Let's go over here and let's get into like the weekly charts. Like again, so pounding the table on this, right? There's a confirmed weekly 13 bottom in ETH That weekly 13 bottom was confirmed last week. Everyone's like, okay, so what? I'm like, hey, ETH could go to 1420. Here we are. Do you realize you could have 9 up weeks like this in ETH based on this structure? Or 7 more up weeks? I mean, 1959, anybody? The FTX downtrade or the whole Celsius debacle, sell in May and go away in ETH, started at 3,500. Ridiculous, right? I mean, it's above 18. Bitcoin's above 18. So everyone will talk about 20. And before it goes about 20, I want to talk about 35 or 45, right? 48,000 was where Bitcoin was prior to the Celsius debacle. At a minimum, if that's like beyond what you can, handle, there's a DeMark point at 25K. And with the way crypto behaves, Bitcoin's put everybody to sleep. It could just happen like that, right? I mean, if you just started in crypto yesterday, first of all, welcome. Welcome to crypto. Welcome to the show. But again, how long does it take? Like that. JP Stanley is asking, is the bull market back? This is a great question. So is a bull market in crypto defined as everything mindlessly mooning? Unfortunately, yes. This is not a mindlessly mooning market. The things that are going to go up are the things that have purpose. Web3, Avalanche, Solana, ETH, like the highways of the new internet that have been marked down like cheap suits. Okay, Bitcoin, everybody just sort of gave up on this as a form of money, and gold and silver are telling you, yeah, the bull market is back and uptrend is back. Like everyone's like, oh, are we in a bull market? Are we in a bear market? Do I have to like hide, or do I have to like sell my house and put everything in? Crypto is famous for these black and white extremes. How about a good old fashioned uptrend? How about an uptrend in January, pause or choppy February, followed by a monster summer rally, like epic. Huge trading opportunities here, huge investing opportunities if you can get involved in something at a decent level. 18,000 Bitcoin, is that expensive? No. No. I mean, Bitcoin at the start of the FTX debacle topped out at 21. Topped out at 21. All right. Somebody's asking about MATIC. I can definitely take a look at that. Last 3 days have been basically saying MATIC was like massively picked on by short sellers. So just for information, Solana has resistance at 1696, and it may stay there while Bitcoin does its thing today. Okay, MATIC, again, this is kind of classic on a weekly chart. I think you have to start looking at the bigger picture so you don't get confused and see something up 5% and say, oh, it's up too much, I can't buy it. Right? Like the resistance in MATIC is at $1.50. And this is a confirmed 13 bottom. Okay, Jappy Finland says invest in water. Let's talk about that. The global temperature report from 2002 from Berkeley Earth shows the average annual temperature from 1850 to 2020. It's rising. Okay. And I like this the most. A snowless Davos tells the world's elites all they need to know. Okay. Next week, you will have the Davos Summit. The Davos Summit in Switzerland, where all the elites, Soros, Bezos, Bill Gates, Jamie Dimon, everybody who thinks that you can't think for yourself will convene in Davos and say the solution to the world's problems is to have us in charge and central bank digital currencies. And my answer to that is go to hell. But the fact that there's no snow in Davos seems to drive home the point about water. Okay, this is the BARC token from the group that I work for. BARC is a price discovery mechanism for water to allow transportation of water from one place to the other. The pair for BARC is GLDN. So GLDN is sort of like the currency you use to buy water. I took a lot of shit about GLDN last year. This is why I got involved in this ecosystem. Now, if this doesn't resonate with you, okay, I understand that. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. This is APPH. This is a stock where they advertise farming with only 90% of the water that everyone else does. APPH is up 21% today and is actually off of its high. Are commodities, gold and water, investment themes this year? Yes. Are they investment themes for the blockchain? Yes. Yes. Right? You can have, Cramer has a saying, everyone's like, do the reverse of whatever Cramer says. Now, that may or may not be true, but Cramer does have a saying that I wish people would pay more attention to, which is, there's always a bull market somewhere. Okay? AAM is here hitting the like button. Thank you. There's always a bull market somewhere. Right? Let's head back over to DeMark, where we can look at every day. I'm continuing to look at things like metaverse and privacy. Okay, noticing Zcash. You had a 9 top. You had a pause on the 8. And this whole privacy narrative, I was talking about this, and then I kept quiet after Celsius. I think the minimum target for something like Zcash is the high of the give up trade in November, which is 56. Currently, it's at 45, and they were selling it to you as low as 34. So this whole idea that privacy, right, the second they open their mouth at Davos, like the second they open their mouth, where they tell you that their money is their money and your money is their money. Okay, XMR, Monero on a weekly basis, taking out moving average base resistance with actual DeMark resistance not until 264. Right? Somebody's looking for a Cosmos entry. If I did a Cosmos entry, it would not be today. Right? So Cosmos has actually been going up since December 19th. Today's the 13 top, so I would give it at least 2 or 3 days. My guess is this is going to go sideways while Bitcoin continues to God candle higher. Let's see if I can find tactical support. I think tactical support in Cosmos is around 1136. It's kind of already tested that level, but that's where support is. There's a lot of people who are trying to catch this because it's already gone up. I get it. This is a good ecosystem. Novogratz is all over this. By the way, Novogratz is also all over the tape today. This is actually something I got to read because, Novogratz kind of went off today, as I understand it, on Bloomberg. Novogratz wants to punch disgraced crypto titans in the face. Mike Novogratz wants to get something straight. It's not his fault you lost money in crypto. Bitcoin is headed to $500,000. He had Luna to the moon, got the tattoo. Okay, but he's saying he just got a tattoo. Right? The indictment splattered implosion of FTX and the aftermath that threatens to topple rival billionaire Billy Silvert's empire. Novogratz is unrepentant and searching for a path forward. I believe in what I've said. So I don't go to bed thinking, oh, I can't believe I said that. I really think Bitcoin is a brilliant innovation. A lot of people paying attention to Sam Bankman-Fried, not a lot of people betting on Novogratz. Novogratz says, I would bet the majority of my predictions have been right, not all of them. Otherwise, people wouldn't have me on their show all the time. Okay. And then Bloomberg says, in many ways, Novogratz is just like all those crypto dreamers who hyped the stuff up right before the bottom fell out. Okay. Novogratz has lost more than $3 billion on paper and yet remains a billionaire. So what take do we get from this? Well, sometimes Mike can do silly things like the tattoo, but Mike didn't get where he is because he doesn't know what he's talking about. And this is another 50-year-old guy in crypto other than me who's pounding the table that the stuff that happened last year, that men behaving badly, so badly they wind up in court or jail, is not representative of crypto. It's not representative of crypto. Okay. Brick Dreams is asking, we are going to rally until the Feds pivot. I think if you look at the Philly Fed, what the Philly Fed governor just said, Philly Fed president has seen enough. 25 basis point hikes will be appropriate going forward. They've already done this, right? This guy actually votes on what happens with interest rates. He's telling you the days of 75 basis point hikes, a time that has surely passed. Okay. So everyone in crypto is obsessed with what happened last year. Wrong. Everybody thinks the Fed's going to 5% Fed funds. Wrong. And even if they do, they're going to have to unwind that quickly. Okay. You know, some of these mess ups have created good opportunities, which is another thing people are not talking about, right? In other words, everyone is like, oh, well, where do I get in now? Okay, that's a good question. Where do you get in now? Let's look at Polkadot. If everyone was focusing on Cosmos, I would look at Polkadot. When everybody said Solana was dead, I was like, let's look at Solana, right? If Polkadot takes out 525, it can go to 560. The dip in Polkadot on an 89-minute chart was at 506 this morning, as in $5.06. Now, let me be honest. What's the difference between 5 and 519 in Polkadot when you look at this on a weekly chart? And, you know, the difference in these prices, like, doesn't really matter. Like, when Polkadot started its move up, like, did anybody care if they pay, say, like, this is the minutia you're worried about. Now, is Polkadot going to go all the way back to 45? No, but the give up trade started with sell in May and go away at 24. So maybe the best entry point in Polkadot or Cosmos or in interoperability is to get long Polkadot at 5 something, not investment advice, for a move to 24. No one's talking about Polkadot. Nobody. Now, if Polkadot goes to 24, everybody's going to be talking about Polkadot, which is probably where you'd have it at the end of August, at which point you should probably take profits. If somebody asks, is the bull market back? The bull market where you can just sit and it goes up forever? No. But you can engage in active portfolio management and do trading plays, and this becomes incredibly interesting. Okay. Lord Junta says Fed no option other than be forced to reduce the rate itself. I mean, can you imagine a world where the Fed has to cut rates? 3-month dollar LIBOR exceeds 2008 financial crisis high. Banks are charging each other the highest rate since the financial crisis to borrow for 3 months. Something's not right. There's a case for gold. Satoshi's case for Bitcoin has emerged and everyone is selling, which is typical. It's typical. Like right before, it's always darkest before dawn. It's always the black of night before the sun comes out. And the sun's coming up on crypto, right? Crypto's up 5%. And I get it. If you didn't do it, or you missed it, or you feel like you missed it, you probably haven't missed it. That's a trick, right? If you look at Ethereum, right? So this is Ethereum monthly. And if we go back to the 2017 high, I've been blowing up about. So here we are at the 2017 high, which is, oh, look, 1425. So you're like, oh, ETH's up too much. I can't buy it. I got a better idea. What if everything that happened below 1425 was panic liquidation bullshit? That really just messed up the charts because you had a black swan event that created all this selling that changed everybody's perspective about the chart. There's nothing to change about this chart other than the fact that you had this huge overshoot. I mean, I was at Bitcoin Miami 2021 where people were like, if I ever see Bitcoin 20K again, I'm selling my house and buying Bitcoin. Now, my answer was, if you see Bitcoin back at 20K, you won't be able to sell your house. And then in my mind, I'm saying you won't have the courage to pull the trigger. And of course, Bitcoin obliged everybody by taking it below 20K and leaving it there. Like this really messed with people's heads, right? This messed with people's heads because, like if you just look at the monthly opens, I think the monthly open here in 2017 before it collapsed was like just under 20K. Right. The open on the collapse candle was 18.9K. Well, what do you know? Where's Bitcoin right now? Oh, look, it's at 18.7. So what's changed? Nothing. What's changed is that all this price action below 18.9 or below 20 was all bullshit, which is the price action that Novogratz, it's happened, and now Novogratz wants to punch everybody in the face. Hello. Right? Is 18 point, did you miss anything? Did you miss what? We're back where we were in 2017. We've retested the high. We did an overshoot. This happens in crypto all the time. Like the wick. Now look at the monthly. Or look at the quarterly. Right? It's just a stupid wick or a stupid, running of the stops instead of running of the bulls. This is going to be an up quarter in Bitcoin, most likely. And if it's not an up quarter, it's going to be an up month. And if you go back over here and look at something on a monthly basis, classic 9 bottom in ETH on a monthly chart, and the count is starting to go the other way. I don't know why I don't have Bitcoin monthly up here. Let's just switch this to monthly. Same thing, except you got the DeMark 0 indicating that the downtrend is over. You don't have the positive DeMark count yet, but you've got this Elliott wave, the DeMark D wave signal saying that this is over. Okay, Christopher Hartline says, Bill, when are the trading and TA courses coming out? My girlfriend and my producer are absolutely on my case about getting this done. I've also got people asking for Discord. We're working on it. We're definitely working on it. Jesus World Vlog is here from California. Welcome. Thank you for showing up on the stream. Feel free to tell your friends. One sort of funny, not funny event from yesterday was I had somebody come into my Twitter and DM me and saying, we miss you in Africa. Can you please start doing the market update again? Folks, the market update is Monday through Friday on my own channel. So tune in. Tell your friends. I'm back. Attempts to put me behind a paywall have failed. Let's talk about Cardano. You know, I get the sense that the YouTube community is sick and tired of influencers like catering to them or trying to get them to watch videos by doing videos about Cardano and XRP. I did a tweet about XRP and lost 8 followers. Cardano is breaking out. Like this line, this fib speed resistance line stopped the market. This fib speed resistance line stopped the market, and now Cardano is turning around and bouncing off support. The next line is at 35 cents. I don't see any reason why Cardano couldn't eventually attack this top line at 48 cents. And then there's QNT, right? In other words, the Davos theme for next week, right? When the Davos guys open their mouth, it's going to become obvious. One, there's something wrong with the system. Let me put the gold chart up before I start doing this. Okay, next week in Davos. These guys are going to step up to the podium and they're going to tell you the following. One, there's something wrong with the system. They'll tell you they have the solution, but they have the solution to what? They may not tell you the what, but there's problems in the system, the financial system. Something is wrong with banks. You cannot have bonds decline the way bonds declined without having somebody blow up. Let me just drive this point home, right? This is long bond futures weekly. Okay, when these guys step up to the microphone at Davos, you're going to know that something is wrong. They'll say they have the solution, but central banks could be insolvent. Good for crypto, good for gold. They're going to tell you your freedoms have to be limited because you don't deserve your freedoms or you don't know how to use your freedoms properly or their way. I disagree. I disagree, which is why you have crypto YouTube or crypto Twitter or TikTok or whatever platform you can use to basically push back against these people. And I think once they start talking, the value proposition for crypto is going to get more and more apparent with every word that comes out of their mouth. Right? If you're not in control of your own financial destiny with crypto, your financial destiny is in the hands of the guy that runs BlackRock or Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan. Oh, and by the way, don't also be surprised if these guys step up to the microphone and say, the FTX debacle underscores the need to have us come in and start buying and taking over the crypto ecosystem. While nauseating in one way, these guys, I think, are going to validate the need for crypto. They're either going to do it by sounding like the evil empire, or they're going to stand up and say, we're tired of central banks. We're tired of inflation. We're going to get into crypto. Period. I mean, I know BlackRock wants Grayscale. Grayscale's got 600,000 Bitcoin. How would BlackRock ever buy 600,000 Bitcoin? The only way to get a hold of that much Bitcoin is to either buy Grayscale and take GBTC or to buy MicroStrategy. And I don't think Michael Saylor is selling. Okay. CarMax is here ready to rumble. Okay. Mr. Moby Dick 666 is a big fan of QNT, which I can put up here. I'm going to tell you something. If there's upside risk on Davos, it could be this. If somebody comes in and says we need an alternative payment plumbing, and XRP has got regulatory overhang, although I wouldn't count XRP out at all. Okay. If you do the hidden pivot analysis on QNT, I mean, if this thing really got going, if QNT took out 140, QNT could be at 283. NFA. Can you imagine? And that doesn't, that gets QNT back to where it was at the start of November. So it's not like, oh, yeah, okay, Bill, you're being some crazy moon boy. I was looking at Cardano, Cardano at 50 cents, QNT at 285, Bitcoin at 25, ETH at 2,000, ETH at 3,500. Why not? Sam Forrest says BlackRock will buy Coinbase. I wouldn't doubt if Coinbase is setting it itself up to be sold so the guys who own it can cash out, which is probably why they're cost cutting. Either that or they're just trying to stay in business. But yeah, BlackRock wants Coinbase. Okay. Oh, I see. Carmax saying Rumble platform with no censoring. Okay. That's good to know. I've got a lot of people asking me to move over to those type of platforms. We're also looking at Twitch. The good news is I don't say anything too crazy, although I'm trying to get a little bit more edgy on TikTok without making anybody too upset. I'm sure you'll be shocked to know that I do have an opinion about a lot of things. Yeah, I got a lot of people asking for a move over to a different platform. Okay, VeChain. Oh, I swear. Crypto and supply chain. I thought VeChain was the answer. Maybe it's because VeChain has a Chinese connection. VeChain at 1.5 cents, I would have thought was unthinkable. And this is a good lesson that things go all the way up and they come all the way back down to where they started. And you can then reevaluate the entire rally. Like everyone's like, oh, I missed the 2021 rally. I missed the whole thing, everything. Well, it's back again. No one wanted it down here, and no one probably wants it down here. Now, can you have a liquidity-driven spike like this? I don't know. But somewhere in the world, whether it's BARC or GLDN or this is VeChain, I'll just put this up here. Somewhere out there, there's going to be a do-over. There's going to be trades that you can do again. Again, nobody liked Coinbase. Nobody liked Bitcoin. Nobody liked stocks headed into this year. GBTC now up 14% on the day. Bitcoin, as we're talking, crossing the 5% threshold. And again, if you just look at Bitcoin on a daily chart, I mean, this is like, you do not need to go to chart school to get this. Speed, magnitude, and direction. What goes down a certain way goes right back up the same way, right? Like, where is the resistance here? Like, this was a void. This was just like a straight down trade, and Bitcoin has now emerged into this zone. So nothing stopped Bitcoin from going to 20 to 18.5. So what's stopping Bitcoin from going from 18.5 back to 20.5? Nothing. Nothing, right? Equities could close today, and crypto hedge funds that haven't bought it and think that there's going to be a bigger dip, they're going to realize that the dip was earlier today. The dip was right here. This was the dip. Down to 18K off the number. Like, the dip is barely discernible. The dip was the low at 18K. That was the dip. And anybody who missed it has now got to live with staring at this Bitcoin God candle going, okay, what next? Okay. Lawn Shark 423 says, give me the alpha. The alpha is this market can go a lot higher and a lot faster than anyone thinks. Okay. Joseph Ryan, like in 2019, where people were waiting for the below 10K again after September, and it never happened. Montreal is here, looking for some guidance on Audius. More Web3 stuff. There's resistance at 17 cents. I almost feel like if you suffered an Audius, why not just leave it? You know, whether you get out or not is probably up to your accountant. I mean, the bottom should have been in October and they just annihilated it. So I don't know that there's any big DeMark signals on the weekly chart, but there was support at 12 cents and the give up trade started at 40 cents. I think you got to start using your imagination here, right? There's a pattern emerging. Solana up, AVAX up, ETH up, Bitcoin up, huge, right? Bitcoin goes to 25 and then you just start over, right? Bitcoin's going to find a new level above 20K. Spin is here. Sydney 747. Welcome. Welcome to the show. All right, folks, let's wrap this up. Bitcoin can go a lot higher than anyone thinks. So can gold, water, Ethereum, and Web3. This market's going to go up until people believe it. And we're not there yet. So stay tuned on this channel. I will see you tomorrow.